I see the team with the right level of hunger, humbleness and determination to go all the way. But then you have to show that game by game, and that's a really challenging thing to do in this league. The league is going to a different level. We have more teams right now. It's more difficult to win, and everybody's winning the games, but in a different way to last season, I think. At the moment, nobody can do again 100 points with how the table looks at the moment, and yeah, we all hope that they're going to lose points and that we can be still very, very consistent and win almost every game. We didn't win it because we didn't do enough points to win it, and we had a team that was able to win 14, 15, 16 games in a row, and you have to shake hands and learn from it. And I think we did a lot of very good things last season, and especially probably we needed that lesson and that experience to be able to see. First of all, we have the courage, the quality, and the capacity to do it again, or if it just was one-off. And we've done it again by playing Champions League on top of that after 7 years, so there's a lot of new things happening, and the team is coping with that. The game is not only what you see on the pitch, so the game starts to get prepared a few days earlier, or sometimes a few months earlier, and it's not only that, it's the connection that you have with the player that is going to play or is not going to start the game to affect the game after, the mood of the team, how the coaching staff is interacting, sending messages to them daily, the atmosphere of the stadium, key, you know, what they read, how they are the players' mind before a game, how they start the game. It's a lot of things that influence. So we can control, or we can think that we can control probably more things that actually we do control. With everybody at the club, turn this club around because it was in a really difficult place, and I think we have managed to do that. And now we have turned it around. Now we have to lift it to the very top. So the first part, I think we've done it, and now it's keeping bringing it up and bring major trophies in.
Arsenal against Sheffield United away from home for the Gunners, but there is also the added factor now of the fact that they're playing Monday night, when City and Liverpool will already have played. There's that psychological element in the title race as well. Would you prefer to play first or last?
First. I always like that as a player. I think it depends on what type of player you are. I think same as penalty shootouts. If I was the captain who won the toss, I'd want to take the first penalty, I think, psychologically. I think against Sheffield United, that's no disrespect to them. I think at this moment in time, Arsenal should be okay. I remember the return fixture was 5-0 at the Emirates, you know, and Arsenal, I think, just have that golfing quality. But we talk about mentality, and I spent 12 years at the club, and I love that club. Although I'm a United fan, I love Arsenal, you know. They've always been great to me. But I think, you know, losing that game to Porto, people still question their mentality. The way they lost the league last year, you know, West Ham, the Southampton game, ultimately cost them, yes, the game at the Etihad last season. But it comes down to City. And I still think there's always going to be question marks over that if they don't kind of make things better, like the second leg against Porto. If they were to lose that, then I would be thinking, okay, maybe they do, you know, crumble when it really matters. But right now, I think, judging that it's Sheffield United, and that's no disrespect to them, I think Arsenal should be okay, because from what I've seen from Sheffield United this season, they've not really offered anything at all, have they? Even since Chris Wilder's gone in there.
Staying with the psychology theme here, Arsenal are just under the radar. When people talk title race, they're talking Liverpool and Manchester City, and then they remember Arsenal mathematically are still there. It seems to have worked in their favour a little bit because there's not that pressure. And they've added other elements to their game as well. Bukayo Saka has now scored in each of his last... I'm sorry for infringing with the stats here. In each of his last 5 Premier League games. And they have also got this other element now, which is the goals from set pieces.
Absolutely. They've scored, I think it's 19 goals from set pieces, which is the most of any club in the Premier League.
He says, I think, when he knows very well.
And there's a real organisation about the way they go about their business. Their coach, a set-piece coach, steps into the dugout, and Mikel Arteta goes back and sits down whenever they have a corner or a free kick. Some people deride these kinds of innovations, but you can see how much they're benefiting from it. And for them, it's almost like a penalty.
I was just about to say that, Darren. Yeah. It splits kind of people's opinions whether you should have a set-piece coach. But when I think you see it working like this, then why not?
Yeah.
If you've got to do the smallest gains in the men's game, small percentages to get you ahead of the game, because a lot of the players are very similar in quality.
Absolutely.
There's a few there's only certain percentages that make you a little bit better, you know, the high quality players. But I think anything that can kind of make you have that little bit of an edge. And it's clearly working. So fair play to them.
And it's interesting, in that VT we were watching a second ago with Arteta, he said the game doesn't just start when the whistle blows at the start. The game begins long after that, long before that, I should say. And bringing in somebody like that set-piece coach to get those marginal gains is very, very key. People don't talk too about Arsenal's defensive record as well. It's the best in the league. People underrate that because they look at City's, 7 titles in the last 12 years. They look at the fact that Liverpool were able to win the league in 2020. And they look at the fact that Arsenal haven't managed to hit those heights yet. So there will still be those doubts about them. But with that defensive record, with those goals in the Premier League, 62 goals they've scored so far, only one fewer than Liverpool, and that edge they have at set pieces, it will be, for me, it's going to go down to the wire. On Monday night, another one that we're going to have to look for our fingers at as well.
Do you think Monday night is a straightforward win for the Gunners?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think maybe the fact that it's away, there is that element. Bramall Lane's quite a difficult place to go to, very hostile.
But once they score the first goal, I think they'll break their spirit. We've seen they're conceding 5s and 6s and 8s. I mean, I think it could be brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas had a session before the game, the last game, and now he's done 2-3 consecutive sessions, so he should be part of the squad on Monday.
And how about Alexander Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, or Yurian Timber? Could they be part of the squad?
Those ones is possible, but we have to wait and see, especially the last 2 sessions that we have on Saturday and Saturday and Sunday. And if that's the case, they might be available on Monday.
Gabriel Jesus returned to the squad for the game against Newcastle, but of course he didn't play. Is he ready to start a Premier League match?
Well, he's fit enough. You know how long he will last. That's something different probably, but we didn't want to take any risk after the results that we had against Newcastle. Obviously, we need him fit. He's a massive player for us, and I want to make sure that now we load the players in the right way.
In terms of your opponents on Monday night, Sheffield United, I was at the game against Wolves and they showed plenty of fight, particularly in attack. What challenges do you think they'll pose?
Yeah, a really difficult team to beat, and you watch, and I watch 4 or 5 games now. With the City game, the way they started against Villa, and then obviously the game took a different route. But as you mentioned, they are extremely well coached. I know Chris really well, and I admire his teams and a lot of things that he does with them. It will be Monday night football, and it's going to be a tough night.
And finally from me, I mean, how difficult is it to play a team that's fighting against relegation, but particularly this stage of the season?
I imagine that it's really tough for them, and the ambitions are different, but both really, really important. And when I imagine when you are there, you want to get out of there as quick as possible, and we have a lot to play for as well, and it's a big game for us.
Ian. Hi, Mikel, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Last few Premier League games, you scored quite a few goals. Is that going to be important coming into the season? It's a 3-way battle, and who knows regarding the amount of goals and goal difference you score?
Yes, for sure. It's an important element there. First of all, you have to earn the right to win the games, and then we want to be ruthless and efficient in front of goal, and I think lately we've been really good.
Because quite often you see a team that get 3 or 4-0 up in a game, and then they take their foot off the gas, save their energy for a future game.
Yes, you can do that. It's not been the case recently against Newcastle. The last 15-20 minutes, maybe we could have done a bit more, and we have to continue to do that, especially when you bring the subs in, because they can re-energize the team and still maintain a really high level, and it's something that we want to continue to do.
You play last this weekend. In terms of the schedule, is that a good thing to be playing after everyone else? You see what they've done, or would you rather go first to put pressure on them?
We've done 2-3 different scenarios. Is what we have right now. We know all the results, but it's irrelevant. What we want to do is go to Sheffield, perform the way we are performing, and win the match. And the rest we cannot control.
You said some nice things about Sheffield United, about being hard to beat, but they have conceded a lot of goals, especially recently at Bramall Lane. Is that something you'll be targeting?
Well, as with every team, we look at the weaknesses and the strengths and try to take the game where we want. But I'm saying this because I know that team really well. I analyzed it many years ago as well, and things that Chris did, and I learned from his teams. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a really tough match.
And the last one, March, important month. We all thought at the end of last weekend you all played the same number of games, but in March you've got to play City. City have got to play Liverpool as well. How big a month are we going into now?
Well, first of all, depending what happened for us on Monday and the rest of the results, and that would have an impact. So the only thing you can do is the next game and focus on that, and the rest will come.
Thanks, Ian. Mark?
Hi, Mikel. You
Hi.
mentioned there about the potential that Jurien might be in the squad on Monday. Is his recovery?
Sorry. It wasn't about Jurien. It was about the other two.
Oh.
Jurien is still not close enough to be part of the squad on Monday.
I know he's now back training, though, isn't he? And how surprised have you been just by the speed of his recovery? And does it tell you just his determination that how much he wants to play for your team?
Absolutely, it's been a joy, and all of the physios and the medical staff are really happy with his attitude and his commitment, and especially the way things have gone. But it's not a coincidence the way he applies, how determined he is, his willingness to put every effort in everything that he's demanded to do, and he's in a really good place. Now we have to manage, because that's the last stage of that difficult injury that is complicated, but I think he's in the right way.
You lost him obviously on his Premier League debut. What have Arsenal missed not having him in the team this year?
Well, first of all, his leadership, his versatility, the quality that he has to play in different positions, especially in attacking phase, the spaces that he can occupy, and certain qualities that nobody else has in the squad to do that. And as you could tell that he was fitting in, the more it fits him in, he's really liked around the boys, and it's been a big miss.
And then just finally, you play the team bottom of the table on Monday, having won 5-0, 6-0, 4-1. Is there any concerns of a potential overconfidence from the players, or do you not see that at all?
I hope not, and we were very clear straight after Newcastle the difficulty that we're going to have on Monday to beat Sheffield. So hopefully they are very, very aware from 3 days ago, and we have prepared a week, and we're going to continue to prepare, understanding that that's going to be the case.
Thanks, Mark. James?
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
Chelsea winning last night means you now don't play them on March 16th, so you're going to have quite a long gap. Is that a help or a hindrance at this stage of the season?
It is what it is. We knew that it was an option, and I will plan to use that time the best possible way, because that would mean that then we would have a more congested period in April.
I mean, obviously there's an international break, but would you look to potentially organise a friendly that weekend, or try and get some competitive football of some description?
Players would have different demands, and the majority of them would have international matches as well, and international training sessions. So I don't think it's going to be a case of needing more minutes, and if there are 3-4 particular cases, I'm sure we can address that.
Sorry, just finally, it does mean you won't have a game for almost 3 weeks before you play Man City, which is obviously a massive game. Is that a help or a disadvantage going into a game of that magnitude?
The difference is 3-4 more days. We're going to have 2.5 or 3 weeks. That's it. And I don't think that's going to change the world.
Thanks, James. Charles?
Just on Gabriel Jesus, Mikel, you said back in August, just before the season, that you were going to have the operation to try and sort of resolve the issue that was sort of hanging around since the World Cup. Given what's happened since, and you're kind of still managing that injury, is it sort of safe to say that what you hoped happened with that operation, it hasn't quite gone to plan? No,
it didn't happen, and that was resolved. What happened is that he got a knock in another area that caused a different kind of injury afterwards. It wasn't related to the first one, and then he had a little niggle. It was a muscle issue that kept him for 10 days out.
Just to fact check to begin with, you were fairly confident that Brereton, Diaz and Baldock would be available this week. Have they had the training required?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they've trained yesterday and today fully. So delighted that we've got both those experienced boys back with us and involved in the group.
And well, Baldock's been absent for such a long time. To have him back, I mean, he's a leader on the field, isn't he?
I think when you talk about Premier League experience that we've been lacking, and talking about the likes of John Egan Basham, Tom Davis not being involved, Ollie McBurney, not as much as we would have liked to have him for selection, but certainly George, knowing what his characteristics are, his personality is, I think we all know, having watched him and managed him for a number of years, we're absolutely delighted that he's back in the group, and it gives us a big boost.
He was a hell of a find, wasn't he? And what he's gone on to help achieve at this football club.
Yeah, he's been. I think when you talk about sort of recruitment here at the football club and the real smart ones that we picked up in that sort of period. Your Baldocs, your Jack O'Connells, you know, for what, 250 grand I think, and the service that he's given to the football club, the achievements that he's been able to aid the football club in, and would you believe it, a Greek international as well. So I'm not so sure when he walked through the door from Milton Keynes that we would expect him in 6 or 7 years' time to be playing for the Greek national side.
Apologies if I've missed this. Has there been a sort of timescale on Cameron Archer's time on the sidelines? How is he?
No, not really. He's improving as he would do with treatment. But there's no timescale on him. I'm sure that he won't be available before the international break. I'll be delighted if he is. Obviously now with that changing and the Man United game being rescheduled, it does give us another week to get the likes of Cameron Wright, Anis Wright, and a couple of the others to help the squad and boost the squad even more going into the last 10 games of the season.
16 goals in all campaigns, 7 goals in his last 5 Premier League games. The last English player, I don't know if you know this stat, the last English player to score in 5 consecutive games actually went on to score in 7 consecutive league games was?
Ian Wright.
Well, I genuinely cannot believe you weren't ready and waiting with that one.
I was just acting like
you were just pretending to be humble.
Modest.
Yeah, I'm just pleased for him. I just want him to continue to score the goals and do what he does. You know, the way he plays. You know, it's only a couple of seasons ago, it was him and Emil Smith-Rowe literally had the club on their backs, getting us through certain periods. And now we're in a place where it's starting to look very fruitful. We're starting to see the best of him and the team, you know, not only offensively, but defensively. And it's just, at the moment, it's very, very exciting. And I'm delighted for him. You know, he doesn't listen to the noise. He's just getting on with it.
Your 5th goal in a row, or the 5th game in a row in which you scored, was against Chelsea.
Was it?
Yeah, do you want a little reminder?
Oh, yeah, I remember the left foot one on the edge of the box, wasn't it? Yeah. But I always scored against Chelsea. Some of them I didn't even count because...
Penalty spot, by the way.
Yeah.
Not quite the edge of the, not quite the edge of the box.
Yeah, well, it felt like the edge of the box. But, like, no, you know, again, it was like... It was nice. I didn't even get on with Stuart. Yeah, that was great times. Yeah. But again, with Bukayo, you know, he's a young player that seems to have a lot of expectation on him, and he's carrying it well. Yeah,
and Arsenal with a really good performance against Newcastle. I mean, we can maybe touch on Newcastle's part in that game as well, because it wasn't a great performance from them, but Arsenal just blew them away. Bukayo Saka in fantastic form. And as Wrighty said, is it as much about the fact that everyone else is kind of carrying their share of the burden as much that's allowing him to shine?
Absolutely. I don't think anyone in the Premier League is playing as well as Arsenal at the moment. You know, they're rolling people over, you know, really are. Only sharing the goals around the team. Martinelli's back to his best. Odegaard had a little bit of a lull period. He looks like he's really picking up performances. Saka's been unbelievable. Jorginho coming to the side, he pushed Declan Rice on. He looked really better in number 8 position, but he's been outstanding. Gabriel and Saliba give him that solid base. It's all going well for him at the moment. I just think the time will come, and we're not talking about, because of the amount of goals they've scored, the time will come in this run-in when they get that game where teams sit back, it's not really going for them, they're not playing free-flowing football, they're not opening teams up where they haven't got that number 9, they haven't got a sniffer, they haven't got that clinical finisher, like Haaland. Who has? But Haaland makes a difference. When you're not playing well, he will score a goal and win you the game. I'm not sure Arsenal got that, but there's no reason why they can't continue to play like they're doing now and win the Premier League.
You know, the thing what I would say with that is I remember that period where none of them was scoring, all 4 of them, no one was scoring up front. But defensively, we were really, really solid, and we are very solid defensively. I think without the ball, we're the best team out of ball possession. And so what we're hoping is going to happen now is that, you know, the conversation is always they need a number 9, you need somebody to take the half chance. I've even said it myself, but with the guys scoring now, that will be the test. You know, when you get into one of those games with the low block, can you break them down? That's what we're going to have to do. But one thing that I am confident that we could do, apart from Porto, is defend. defend solidly, because that's what you got to build it on. And then you got to hope that when they get the chances, they take them. Because we haven't got the number 9 at the moment, and we're not going to get him. So it's going to have to come from within. So the main thing for me, what I love about what Arsenal are doing at the moment, is how well they are without the ball. Defensively, how well they're doing in set pieces. So, you know, you have to hang on, because you know what City have got. You know, Liverpool's experience as well. And you just have to hang on and stay in there, and that's what they're doing.
Righty, we've not talked about the goalkeeping situation anymore. Early on in the season, we was. Is Raya an upgrade?
Well, you say he's an upgrade, but if you look at his numbers, his numbers are better. You know, you can't argue with that. Arsenal seem to attack more with him. He's collecting more balls in the air, stuff like that, which is the margins, I suppose, that Mikel was going for. It still seems like you can't see the margins, but if you look at the numbers and the data, Arsenal seem to be playing better when he's in goal.
It's also the speed of movement that you have with David Raya, because he just makes it all go so quickly. Yeah. And I think that's what Arsenal need, because that's their tactical weapon, is that they move the ball so quickly and then overload and then find the spaces to then strike the ball. But I think this is how you can really define a good project and a great manager. And one of that is that they built from the back. And so they made sure that their midfield is perfect and that their backline's perfect. If their backline has problems, then, you know, or one-on-ones, Zinchenko will move to midfield, Gabriel will start doing the one-on-ones. They understand the limitations of their players. They also understand the strengths, which one is better at what. And that they can move their chess pieces, you know, whether it's Kai Havertz, whether it's bringing in Jorginho, whether it's using Trossard now. And I think that what is brilliant about Arteta is that he's understood he doesn't have a number 9, so he's maximised the potential of his players. That means maximizing set pieces. Okay, let's score from those. Let's get the fundamentals right. And having that ability to build from the back allows you to sometimes sacrifice not having a number 9. Because if you can get goals from everywhere else by teaching the game well enough and understanding how to cover for the limitations of some of your players and how to actually exude or fortify the strengths of yours, then this is what we have right now with Arsenal. I mean, the ability... Nobody can win it I think only Manchester City can win as much possession in their final, in the way that they do in the opponent's box. And they've done it 11 times in the first half. And each year that figure keeps going up. Now they average 6 times that they win possession and then just strike. So when you do that, you're basically provoking mistakes, which allows you easier goals. So you can have an abundance of different goal scorers. But this is what good coaching and a good project looks like.
And keeping your 2 centre-backs fit. Last year they lost Saliba, didn't they? And it was a big blow for them, I think, keeping them fit. But they look like they're cruising through games at the moment.
And they're not exhausted despite playing in all these different... and that's what happens also when you have a happy dressing room with Saka, who's a good guy, and everyone it looks very happy. And it seems like it just doesn't affect them how tired they could be.
Jorginho, like you mentioned, Jorginho with Declan Rice, and when they're doing the double pivot, and Declan's got the licence to go. Jorginho's the one that keeps everything moving very quickly. He can take a pass and one touch and you're in. Newcastle, if we're going to be totally honest, Kels, I was very surprised. I thought that they were going to be putting a lot more pressure at the back and try to do a mid-block at least, so they can win the ball in an area where they can get their pace going with Gordon, with Isak, with Almiron. We didn't give them the opportunity to play. Arsenal did not give them the opportunity to get on the ball. Guimaraes, I think he got taken off in the game, didn't get anywhere near the game. And this is what I'm saying, Arsenal, without the ball, are so intense.
It's interesting you talked about Newcastle, because obviously they've had injuries, but they look exhausted at this stage of the season. The sort of physical intensity that we've seen from them has dropped off enormously, and injuries might well be a big part of that. Whereas you look at Arsenal, who, as you said, look full of energy, and particularly since they went on that mid-season break to Dubai, and it just seems to have cleared any cobwebs that might have been remaining for them, because their form since then has been incredible.
Well, they all look fit, don't they? They all look ready to go. I think it was a welcome break for them. Little warm weather as well out there, and listening to the manager and impressing small details what he does with the group. But I just think when you're winning games, you don't feel the tiredness. I think with Newcastle, I'm not sure it's their legs what are tired, it's their minds. You know, they're losing games. Last year, they were winning football matches all of the time, and you've got that upbeat feeling around the dressing room and the training ground. And at the moment, it must be dead in there, you know, really, really bad. And, you know, I worry for Eddie. I really do. I think it would be a poor decision to get rid of him, but I think he gave him too much too early last season. I think losing Dan Ashworth's a big blow to him. I think he was the cool head. I think he would have been his cushion to say, hold on a minute, let's not make any rash decisions there. All of a sudden, they've lost him. He's going to go to Man United, isn't he? And, you know, their decision-making now might be, let's go and get a trophy manager. It would be a poor decision, in my opinion. I think he's earned the right for him to stick by him. But unfortunately, there's a lot of clubs now who are run by people who don't know the game.
It's one thing to compare Eddie Howe with other managers and say he's doing a better job than most managers could do in that situation. But if we compare like for like, Newcastle at this stage of last season had conceded 19 goals. This season, they've conceded 45. Yeah. So it's clear where the drop-off and where the change has been.
Well, Eddie,
for them.
you know the Eddie answer will be the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that, but
is he not right in saying? I mean,
absolutely right. I mean, he's got.
It's just it's awful. I mean, like to lose Joe Linton and also your physicality in midfield and not have Willock available to you and a ball carrier, not having had Sandro Tonali available to you, who used to do the job of 3 men at Milan, and losing all these players, I feel like, and then also losing your goalkeeper, who's a very proactive goalkeeper as well, who comes out, who closes angles, who allows you to feel strength in the defence line. And right now you're seeing Dan Burn being exposed for lack of pace, or you're seeing the team being exposed for lack of physicality. But I also think that he can't really build a structure or find a way of limiting these players when his starting 11 keeps changing every day and he doesn't know what he has in his squad.
I think every team could say the same, though.
Yeah,
That's
you're
the
right.
problem.
It's been a really injury-hit
Yeah.
season. That's been the case for a lot of squads. But when you look at maybe Newcastle, they've had injuries in similar places. And even if, I mean, Karius's last game was a League Cup final that they lost to Manchester United last season, plays against Arsenal, but without making any massive errors.
No.
It's not got that connection. There's not that connection between him and the defence in the same way, is there?
You know what's really unfortunate about Karius is that, you know, he seems to come into games where no matter what happens, you know, he's going to get the blame for it. And you put him into a game like that with an Arsenal team coming off of a Porto loss, having to get it back right at home. You know, they're going to be under a lot of pressure. You know, and like I say, Newcastle, and you rightly say, Kels, they do look tired against an Arsenal side that look like they're full of energy. That goalkeeper was going to be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for him, you know, there's not much he could have done about those goals, but that's just the way it is. And like, Arsenal are just very ruthless at the minute, and they've just got to keep doing that.
Yeah. Like you said, though, Manchester City hitting their favourite part of the season. They dropped points last weekend against Chelsea with the 1-1 draw, but very much back on form again. Well, back on form in terms of the result against Bournemouth, but are they back on form in terms of their performance? And if they weren't, which I'm sort of implying with my question, does that even matter at this stage? It wasn't great,
but I thought they played better against Chelsea. I really did. I thought Chelsea were a threat. They had a counter threat in the first half. I thought they got too much credit in the second half. I thought they played like a championship side against Man City, just camped in their box and got away with it. And Disasi was celebrating making block tackles. You know, I just think they opened them up time and time again. If Haaland took his chances, they would have won the game 4-1. It's Phil Foden at the moment. It's just sensational. For me, he's just standing up. Kevin De Bruyne is not obviously fit. He come on for the last 5 minutes of this game. It's good to have Haaland back there. He'll get fitter and fitter. He's obviously integral to everything they do. You know, he can not take part in the game for like 20 minutes and all of a sudden he just muscles someone off the ball and just gets a shot off and Phil just tucks it in. But Phil Foden's at the heart of everything good they do. He's top drawer. Top drawer.
So if we're looking at the title race, what's going to be where either of those or any of those three teams slip up? What's going to be what costs them if they don't win the league? So for Manchester City, can we see any major
head-to-heads
or minor flaws head-to-head against Liverpool and Arsenal?
Yeah.
And that's where Arsenal have the advantage, having beaten both Liverpool.
Well, it's like I said, it's like we saw Liverpool's fixtures, and Liverpool have got City. Liverpool already know that, you know, and it's not being disrespectful to the other teams, whether you're home or away, but Liverpool know that they have to beat Man City. So everybody in between that have to be beaten or they cannot lose, because they know that City can go on that run and they can continue to win games. I thought Bournemouth done well in the second half, but City in the first half, again, you know what I mean, some of the finishing, you know, City could have been a couple more goals up. And what they showed, and what Bournemouth showed teams, that if they don't take them, because Erling Haaland, at the moment, he's having that patch where he's not quite connecting, he's still miskicking a couple, even the one for Phil's goal, he miskicked it and the goal, he parried it. But they're in that period where they're not ruthlessly blasting teams. And so if you can get away, you saw Chelsea nearly beat them. You see Bournemouth, they had chances. Bournemouth could have got something. And the only thing that can stop City, because we know their experience, is if they do not take those chances and they concede late on. You look at Liverpool, it's going to come down to, with Liverpool, the experienced players come back. What can you say? They've got, Alisson Becker's going to come back. The defence is going to be strong. The midfield's going to be, and then you're going to get Mo Salah back. So you're thinking, where's the weakness going to be in Liverpool apart from, and they've got their manager leaving at the end of the season, so they've got an extra 20% in them. And for me, Arsenal, yes, they're defending brilliantly this season. And they've got to continue to do that. Again, it's going to come down to those half chances taken. That's what's going to have to happen with Arsenal.
Oh, it's just going to come down to the smallest of margins. And hopefully it stays tight right to the very end, this title race, or certainly as tight as it is at the moment.
Có nhiều người đá hay không? Đá hay á, đá hay gom một đội cũng đủ không? Đá được. Cũng chỉ nghe thôi. Cái bộ phận của em ấy, của con ba điều của em ấy, chấp cả công ty cộng lại luôn. Đá còn ăn với ăn thì áp đảo luôn ấy. Chỉ có em rồi một cái phải với cả. Ui, sợ thế. Về mic. Mình em ơi mà không mà đã chung kết thua cái của anh. Thôi chung kết em bảo em đá chung kết má thua cái không chịu được. Má quả đầu em solo nhá, giữa sân thằng nóng đùng phát vào rồi, dẫn trước 1-0 rồi. Xong bữa vào vẫn thế nào lại gỡ hai đều. Thế xong là em sút phạt, quả đấy sút phạt đó em cắt video em chưa đăng lên. Hai cái sút hàng rào bay thảo gôn luôn. Phóng hàng rào luôn nhá. Xong 2-1 rồi, xong gôn lại vào hai đều, xong không đá tổ cho nó lên. Cho đâu lòng được. Đâu mẹ ngực thế. Anh Linh giờ có hay sang đấy không? Em biết anh Linh không? Anh Linh nào? Nhiều anh Linh quá. Anh Linh làm cái gì? Anh tự nhiên quên tên công ty rồi. Tự nhiên quên rồi. Cái gì?